Over the last year or so, the documentary The Problem with Apu has sparked a conversation about the appropriateness and impact of the iconic Apu Nahasapima Pedalon, with some South Asians revealing that they've been pretty frustrated with his 30-year run on The Simpsons. Now personally, I was really surprised by this because I view Apu as an overwhelmingly positive and accurate representation of us Indians. And importantly, Apu has long filled a gap left by traditional Indian archetypes in Western entertainment. Let me explain. Growing up, I remember there being two male Indian archetypes that I would see in TV or in the movies. The first archetype was the marginalized, fresh off the boat immigrant Indian. This is that nerdy guy with the unpronounceable name, the funny accent, the weird culture, and who sucks with women. An example would be
Taj Mahal Badalandabad.
This trite archetype has been around for a long time, and unfortunately, is still alive in characters such as Rajesh Kuthapali from The Big Bang Theory. The second archetype emerged more recently, and that is the integrated westernized Indian. This guy is cooler, a first-generation American, has no funny accent, and outside of his skin color, is mostly indistinguishable from any other American. The first instance of this newer archetype that I can recall is this guy.
Hey, what the hell are you doing?
I'm trimming my pubes.
That, of course, was Kumar from the Harold and Kumar franchise. I know that college me was really excited by Kumar. And broadly speaking, this new archetype represented real progress for us, a recalibration, if you will. And since Kumar, we have seen more South Asian characters of this mold, fueled by the great success of South Asian actors. However, while I view the emergence of this new archetype as being mostly a good thing, it does bum me out that the only Indians we see who are not freakish outsiders are the ones who look and sound really American. The implication perhaps being that we should aspire to be Henry Ford type Indians, suppressing those cultural identifiers. For example, go by an easier or even Western name.
Tom Haverford.
Definitely do away with the accent.
Last night, Ryan and I finally hooked up.
And make sure you have plenty of non-Indian friends to provide ample social proof.
Thank you. Hi, Danny. Yeah.
This pressure to subdue my Indianness definitely affects me in my real life. For example, I recently changed the dating profile picture of mine from this to this so that non-Indian women would see me as more familiar and American. And I believe that these common Indian archetypes support the notion that there's a trade-off between being visibly Indian and being accepted and integrated. And this is where Apu comes in. He is the perfect blend of the marginalized, fresh off the boat immigrant Indian and the integrated westernized Indian. He is the integrated immigrant Indian.
I am no longer an Indian living in America. I am an Indian American.
He lives in the town of Springfield with his crazy name.
Hey, you're Apu Nahasapima Pedalon.
He has the thick accent.
Thank you for coming. I'll see you in hell.
And is a very proud and visible Hindu.
I have a shrine to Ganesha, the god of worldly wisdom.
But at the same time, he is woven into the fabric of his community. For example, he's on the bowling team, the volunteer fire department, the barbershop quartet.
Hello.
And he is an integral member of the Drunken Vigilantes.
You better have a good reason for doing that, boy.
And to boot, Apu is depicted as somewhat of a ladies' man, winning the affection of many local women.
That date will not be easy to top. But we shall see.
Landing the beautiful wife, and even having an affair with a hot young lady.
Squishy lady.
Okay, so maybe that last one isn't something to be particularly proud of, but given that Indians are often shown as being sexually undesirable or incompetent, I appreciate the dramatic departure from that narrative. For me, Apu's depiction as a very visible yet integrated Indian is what makes him positive, unique, and important. With that said, I do agree with some of the criticisms around Apu. For example, I agree that there should be Indians on The Simpsons writing staff since they have such a prominent Indian character. However, I disagree with the notion that Apu led to an increased abuse of Indians, mainly because his superficial characteristics are old tropes that long predated him. Furthermore, I was called a packy, a shitstick, and a bud ding ding as a kid in England long before The Simpsons began its run. And I was called a Habib, a fucking Gandhi, a camel jockey, and a stupid Hindu as a teenager in Queens long after. I even had someone threaten to beat me to death with a Slurpee can once. Notice he said slurpy and not squishy. Based on my experiences, Apu or no Apu, hate is going to find an expression. I also disagree with the objections to Hank Azaria, a white man, doing the voice of Apu, an Indian man. I feel pretty strongly that there's nothing at all wrong with this for a few reasons. Actors on cartoon shows typically voice multiple characters, and so invariably some characters are going to be voiced by somebody of a different race, nationality, or gender. Secondly, Azaria is an extraordinarily talented voice actor, which is really rare. Finally, Apu's voice is meant to be a caricature of an accent, a comedic device deployed repeatedly by The Simpsons. Now personally, I find it much more cringeworthy and weird when an Indian does a parody of an Indian accent.
Oh, so you're a good name, you're a good name? Fuck is my good name? So you're a surname, you're a family name?
Than when a non-Indian does it.
Everything's funny with an Indian accent.
But maybe that's just me. Now there is an embarrassing history of Indians being played by non-Indians on screen as discussed by Aziz Ansari and others. But I think there's a huge difference between having a white person wear brownface and alter their voice to straight play an Indian on screen versus a voice actor doing a deliberately cartoonish accent off screen in a recording studio. And I feel that likening the two is a false equivalency because clearly one of them is far, far more heinous. With all this said, it looks like The Simpsons is considering ways in which it can alter the writing or voicing of Apu in the future.
I'm perfectly willing and happy to step aside or help transition it into something new. I really hope that's what The Simpsons does, and it not only makes sense, but it just feels like the right thing to do to me.
And I commend them for listening and being receptive to feedback. But as they consider changes, I really hope that they hold on to those elements that make Apu so great. In my mind, he fills the void left by the more common Indian archetypes, represents a more ambitious view of acceptance, and even defies negative prevailing associations for Indians. I'd say that we need many more characters that lie between the current Indian models, and more representations of unabashedly Indian people who get to exhibit their Indianness without ridicule or self-consciousness. I want to see even more Indians who get to flaunt their heritage and communities that not only accept them, but barely even notice their differences.
Mr. Simpson, it may astonish you to learn that I am an immigrant.
You? I don't believe it.
Basically, I want to see a lot more Springfields and a lot more Apus. Thanks for watching.